Hi, welcome back to bonus session number 4. In first bonus session, we have discussed about simplifying Indian economy. Then we focused on monetary policy in second session. Then fiscal policy. Now it is time to learn something about economic planning in India. So if we have this topic, if this is the main topic, economic planning in India. If economic planning in India is the main topic, then how we can elaborate this thing? For example, the very first thing will be the number one will be definition of economic planning, which is there in Directive Principles of State Policy in Indian Constitution. So it is clearly defined what is economic planning. So after defining economic planning, our objective should be after definition objectives objectives of economic planning, then how many types of economic planning is possible based on government actually. For example, if it is a communistic government, what type of economic planning is possible? If it is communistic plus socialistic, more communistic, and for example, if it is socialistic, it indicates that some communistic features are there, but for example, Indian economy is socialistic but it is not communistic. Chinese economy is socialistic but it is communistic. So there are some things which define the type of economic planning in that economy. For example, whether it is an imperative model or whether it is an induced model or whether it is an indicative model. So it depends on the policies of the government are towards a socialistic approach, or the policies of the government are towards capitalistic approach, or a mixed bag is going there like Nehruvian socialism or Fabian model. So after doing with the definition, after doing with the objectives, we are supposed to classify the things, types of economic planning on the basis of government present in that economy. So whether it is an imperative model or an induced model or an indicative model. After doing the types on the basis of government, we should classify the models which are there in India since 1948, you can say, because from 1948 onwards we have industrial policy resolution. However, the first 5-year plan is not from that period, but the analysis of models in Indian economic planning should be from 1948 only. That will give you more base or more foundation on all economic planning models, because industrial policy resolutions are the base. Whatever the things have been introduced in the beginning with respect to economic planning are directly or indirectly related to 1948 industrial policy resolution. So we are supposed to learn these models of economic planning in India. For example, we have Harrod Domer model, we have Mahalanobis model, and some extent there is an experiment with Lewis concept also, Lewis model of economic planning, Dharan model, Gard Gill. So many things are there. So this thing is different from this one. Here we are focusing on the type of government. That means we will be focusing on imperative model, induced, and indicative. And this thing is different. Models means what is the reason behind going for Harrod Domer model or Mahalanobis model, or there is an experiment with Lewis model concept. Why Nehru thought about adding a pinch of Lewis model in those days, earlier days in 1950s and 60s? Why? What are the reasons? So this thing is different from this. Types means types of economic planning on the basis of type of government present in an economy means whether the economy is going for imperative planning or induced planning or indicative planning, that's all. And here we have, I'll write some models only. Mahalanobis, Harrod-Domo, and Dhar. And after models, sectors. This is the major thing in economic planning, because here we can have primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, quaternary, and quinary. You can learn about five sectors. Primary sector is nothing but agriculture, so agri. Second one is industry. Third one is service segment. So service sector nowadays this is huge, expanding like anything. And this is quaternary sector is related to research and development units, universities, schools, colleges, everything is a part of quaternary sector. And quinary sector is, this is highest level of decision making body. Keep an eye on that one. It's a decision making body, highest level of decision making body, but not a policy making body. Policy making is different from policy implementation and finalizing a policy. So highest level decision making means, for example, in a university you can take vice chancellor, to finalize anything related to Indian economy. Cabinet committee on economic affairs is there. So all such things are highest level of decision making bodies. So in sectors you have primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, quaternary, and quinary. Now this quaternary sector supplies useful manpower to the economy. For example, research and development units you take universities, you take colleges, which supplies and develops quality manpower. And whenever you are dealing with agriculture, you can complete entire agriculture, starting from ancient India agriculture, medieval India agriculture, whatever the agriculture is there in British India, then agriculture after 1947. So huge amount of agriculture concept is there here. We can learn a lot of things starting from Indus Valley civilization itself. Cash crops, food crops, rabi crops, kharif crops. So many things are there with respect to sectors. And after going through sectors, we will focus on land reforms. I can discuss this thing in agriculture itself, but I am separating land reforms and labor laws. If I am doing these two things, I should tell you about what the Constitution of India says about economic planning. Then we are supposed to focus on this beautiful concept called welfare state. So all are interrelated. If you are doing agriculture, land reforms is mandatory. If you are doing industry, labor laws mandatory. If you are doing land reforms and labor laws, both are related to Constitution of India. Constitution of India and economic planning means it is focusing on welfare state concept only. If you have welfare state concept, you need a body to organize everything. So initially you have planning commission, now you have Niti Aayog, and we have finance commission. This is planning commission, this is finance commission. When we have these three bodies together, we are supposed to learn about what is cooperative federalism, What is competitive federalism? If we have these two things, we are supposed to learn about regional disparities in India, and then allocation of resources, and then finally poverty and unemployment. Look how much we have. I'll start numbering, I'll give numbers to all these things. So, the very first thing will be we are defining the economic planning, and then the objectives of economic planning is number two. Next, types of economic planning, whether it is imperative or induced or indicative. Models, Mahalanobis, Harrod Domer, Thal, Lewis, etc. Sectors starting from primary to quaternary and quinary. This is quinary. And then we have land reforms, then we have labor laws. What does the constitution says about economic planning and welfare state concept? Planning Commission, Niti Aayog, Finance Commission, cooperative federalism, competitive federalism, regional disparities, allocation of resources, and poverty and unemployment. Poverty can be 17 and unemployment can be 18, but due to lack of space, I wrote both of them in one segment. So 17 will be poverty and unemployment. So if we are doing economic planning like this, many questions like, for example, the impact of industrial policy resolutions. Here you can have it. I'll give a number also. So I'll give it number 18. IPRs, industrial policy resolutions, and the growth and development of industry in India after independence. So if you have industrial policy resolutions, you can place. I'm writing number 19 here. What is the approach for investments like foreign direct investments, and then analysis of FERA, and then analysis of FEMA, and then number 22 we have MRTP Act, and then 23 we have Competition Act. If you have FERA, FEMA, MRTP Act, and Competition Act, it is mandatory to learn Nehruvian socialistic approach separately. So 24th one can be Nehruvian socialism, a detailed analysis. Nehruvian socialistic approach, because in those days they went for so many experiments. So Nehruvian socialistic approach. Next, from license quota permit to liberalization, privatization, globalization. So these are the things we can learn about economic planning. So the beginning, the number one, look at number one, it is the definition. Number two, objectives of economic planning. Number three, types, whether it is imperative planning or induced planning or indicative planning. And when you go for models, you have number of models, number of experiments, and then you have sectors. When you are going to complete this segment, agriculture segment, 70% of the syllabus is basically agriculture only. If you look at this 2020 paper, more is there with respect to agriculture. So if you do agriculture properly in an organized manner, like whatever the agriculture is there in ancient India, in medieval India, and what are the efforts made by the Delhi Sultans and the Mughals, and then somewhat extent the failure of the British, because whatever the self-sufficiency of the Indian villages is there, it has been completely disappeared. And in 2021, whatever the problems we are facing, many problems are related to the policies made by the British in those days with respect to agriculture and cottage industry only. So this is a very beautiful segment. In five we have this agriculture. And however, in industry, we are going to do everything related to SMEs and MSMEs and credit structure with respect to priority sector lending, or with respect to Small Industries Development Bank of India, or with respect to district industrial centers, or with respect to the present latest one, NIP concept. So, with respect to industry, we have industrial corridors, we have NIMZ, so much is there. And after five, we have six. I have taken land reforms to give support to agriculture. In agriculture, I can take agricultural reforms, technological reforms, non technical reforms, in that I can place land reforms. But if you keep land reforms aside, then it will give you more impact on your learning. So after that, I have taken labor laws, because in globalization period, when there is more focus on foreign direct investments, you are supposed to look at labor laws also in economies like India, because a lot of confusion is there in India in following socialistic norms and in following capitalistic norms and accepting more and more foreign direct investment. So labor laws learning is mandatory. Very few labor laws, only 6 to 7 labor laws, like Maternity Benefit Act, Industrial Disputes Act, Factories Act. You have Apprentice Act. So likewise, only 6 to 7 will deal with. And this period also you will enjoy, because I'll add history also here, starting from 1701 AD. And eighth one, we have what does the Constitution of India says about economic planning. And if we are focusing on Constitution of India, we are supposed to learn what is exactly a welfare state. Welfare state concept is a huge concept, and all the economies, not only socialistic economies, even capitalistic economies also focused on welfare state concept after immediately after First World War, actually. So based on this one only, we have International Labour Organization now. Now after welfare state, we have Planning Commission. And the role of Planning Commission, the need of Niti Aayog. If we are dealing with Planning Commission and Niti Aayog, we are supposed to learn two things: cooperative federalism and competitive federalism also. And the Finance Commission, because it is the one which allocates the funds and it takes care of many things related to monetary aspects. And then 15th one, regional disparities. You can connect it with green revolution in a more beautiful way. And 16th one, allocation of resources, how the union government allocates resources to the states. And then we have poverty concept. In that we'll discuss about absolute poverty, relative poverty, below poverty line definition, how the government defines BPL, number of steps involved in defining BPL, uh, right to food as a fundamental right or a legal right, National Food Security Act, public distribution system. So much is there with respect to poverty. And when unemployment comes, who defines unemployment, types of unemployment, steps taken by the government with respect to increasing employment in India, and poverty, unemployment, and inflation. And then in 18 you have analysis of industrial policy resolutions. And 19, investments. Actually, with respect to India, investment concept is a bigger one, because there you can see foreign direct investments and number of definitions you can see, like qualified foreign investor, foreign portfolio investments. And one or the other way, we are supposed to learn about flow of foreign exchange in India, like currency swapping into NRE accounts and NRO accounts. So 19th one is a huge one. And then going back to FERA and FEMA and MRTP Act and Competition Act, and special focus on Nehruvian socialistic approach. Then From LQP to LPG, finally we will analyze everything, whatever has happened in detail with respect to agriculture, industry, service sector, blah blah blah. From license, quota, permit system, which is also known as the period of red tapeism or license Raj or license quota permit system, and from 1991 onwards we have this liberalization, privatization, globalization, or period of structural adjustments, that is the beginning of structural adjustments, and new economic policy. So many things, so many names are there for this one and this one also. So this is all about economic planning in India, and this is bonus session number 4. This much we are going to do. And please remember that whenever the agriculture concept is there, we will going to do 70% of the Indian economy, because we have to start with Indian agriculture from ancient India. From Indus Valley civilization itself, we are going to do the agriculture part. Then the agriculture in Vedic period, then the agriculture in medieval period, the efforts of Delhi Sultans and the Mughals, and the steps taken by the British, and finally the agriculture after independence after 1947. This is a huge segment, that is 5. This is 5.1. This is huge primary segment, primary sector. So that's all about bonus session number 4. We are done with bonus session, fourth bonus session. In 1, we have discussed about simplifying Indian economy. In 2, we have discussed about monetary policy. In 3, we have discussed about fiscal policy, and in 4, we have discussed about economic planning in India. So that's all about bonus sessions, and in the last bonus session I'll deal with monetary policy, and then I'll go to economic classes. Thank you.